Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm the Storytelling Advisor, your guide as we analyze stories across every medium. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment what you think about the stories in these videos. Just like me, I'm sure you have lots to say. On today's episode, we're looking at a story in a genre that has always been popular but seems to have gained a ton of traction in the last several years. It's not usually my cup of tea, but for the sake of advising, I'm putting my biases aside and diving deep into a romantic comedy novel from one of the most popular authors right now. That's right, we're talking Beach Read by Emily Henry and my objective thoughts on what worked and what didn't in this story. Let's go! As per usual, I'll give you a little backstory before we go into it. What's really interesting to me is that Emily Henry is inspired by settings more than plots or ideas. She knew she wanted her next book set along the shores of the Michigan lakes, but, experiencing writer's block herself, she wasn't quite sure how to mesh the location with the conflict and characters. So she leaned into her own struggles and gave her two main leads the same problem: trying to write a book when your brain is tapped. After penning the novel, it sat on her computer for a full year because she wasn't sure anyone would even be interested in this type of story. But when she saw romance popping off again in the literary world, especially in a contemporary setting, she sent it in for consideration. And the rest is history. Okay, so I'm not going to give you a plot synopsis, and I'm going to assume you've all read the book, or at least know what it's about. I'm diving right into my thoughts on the story because I have a lot to say on this one. That might come as a shock since this is supposed to be a fun, flirty summer read, but if you're going to tell a story, I'm going to analyze it. Sorry! I'm going to start with the trope that seems to be taking the literary world by storm right now: enemies to lovers. It's nothing new, but the recent influx of literary agents and editors requesting this situationship is wild to me. I mean, I think I get it. Who doesn't enjoy a story about two people butting heads that soon realize their antagonistic tension is actually sexual tension? It's like the whole forbidden fruit thing. When something is off limits, it makes it so much more attractive. So I get why it's popular. But Gus and January's tale has some strange holes that I think make the story weaker. Let's talk about the chemistry between Gus and January, which I didn't hate, but had a few too many flaws for my liking. The grumpy sunshine relationship is one for the ages, and I totally see how it has become a successful model. It creates a natural tension for characters to explore and exploit, especially when there are other reasons for keeping them at odds. Having said that, I'm not sure if it was used in the best way for this story. January is clearly an unreliable narrator, giving us inconsistent insight into their world. Take the reconnection at Pete's bookstore, for example. At first, I'm totally on her side. Gus is kind of a jerk for not remembering her after having class together, reading her stuff, and even engaging in a rivalry throughout their college careers. But then, many chapters later, she switches it up by adding they've had a romantic tension in the past due to an almost hookup at a party. Gus is supposed to be painted as a womanizer who wouldn't remember her, but we see almost no evidence of this other than a few sentences scattered throughout the first act. It quickly becomes clear that January's perception of Gus doesn't add up to his characterization, and that makes their chemistry less believable. I truly don't think that addressing all of this at the onset would have tampered with the tension, since it would lend to her embarrassment about seeing him again. I guess what I'm trying to say here is, why mess with January's credibility as a narrator? It doesn't do anything for the plot or romantic chemistry of the characters, and I can't help but think, what else aren't you telling me? I get that this was supposed to be a twist on the trope with January falling out of the idea of love, but providing the exposition early would have made the narrative stronger and kept me from questioning so much for no reason. On that note, and while I'm on a roll here, I don't appreciate the glorification of poor communication. It makes sense for stories with teenage protagonists, but as an adult, we know that communication is key to a successful relationship. It bothers me that the main conflict of the book hinges on miscommunication or withholding true feelings. That's why I prefer my romance as a B or C plotline, because it allows for other reasons as to why love interests can't get together. So here's my question for all you romance readers. Can it exist with good, healthy communication? As it's not my favorite, I've only ever read a few books in the genre, but I keep seeing it again and again. I'm very happy to be told I'm wrong here, so please give me some examples of romance or rom-com novels that have two people expressing themselves and their truths with honesty and candor. Characters in stories like these always seem guarded, and as a wear my heart on my sleeve kind of person, I struggle to connect with this behavior. I mean, come on, spit it out and get on with it. Ugh, gross. Romance is really starting to rub off on me. Ah, gross again. I'm not usually a fan of authors making their protagonists authors as well, as it feels like kind of a cop-out. I'm looking at you, Stephen King. But it worked well in this case, and even made for a fun switcheroo with the leads writing each other's genres. There's a really cool juxtaposition between the literary and commercial world here too, and Emily Henry does a great job incorporating that into the story through Gus and January. Stepping outside your comfort zone is a really interesting storytelling choice for characters, as it forces the audience to blend two perspectives that don't normally mix. It's hard to do well, and Gus and January keep it pretty simple. They start to touch on their own pasts and how it influences their works, but it never goes beyond simply stating facts about their respective traumas. Gus never discusses how his abusive parents influenced his current perspectives on the world, and January refuses to see the different sides of her father's affair. We skirt over the fact that her father essentially only stayed with her mom because she had cancer, which is obviously not the sign of a healthy relationship. But January ignores this and continues to vilify Sonia, even after finding out that poor Sonia was strung along the whole time too. I'm absolutely not condoning adultery, but there comes a certain point where you have to see your parents as people. People who are most certainly not infallible. A little bit more focus on January healing her relationship with her dead father would have made this a strong, unique story and given a deeper arc for the characters. But I guess if you give your daughter a house, a boat, and write some letters, all is forgiven? Justice for Sonia is my final thought on the matter. I know you're probably thinking, I need to chill out and it's not that serious, and maybe I'm asking romance to do too much. But this was one of the ways that Beach Read distinguished itself from other rom-coms. It was praised for the emotional depth of characters, heartfelt plot, and witty writing, so I don't think I'm speaking out of pocket when I ask for the complexities of these emotions, a multifaceted plot, and writing that isn't itching to get to the steamy parts. I know you're thinking I'm one of those people who frowns upon romance because it's mostly made for the female gaze, and we all know that things tailored for women are often disregarded as frivolous and unnecessary. Couldn't be further from the truth. I think romance is a very necessary part of a story. Love is an incredible emotion and such a wonderful vehicle for decisions. I like that it's used as a tool for storytelling because it's authentic and relatable. We've all done stupid things in the name of love, so I'm absolutely on the page when it comes to using it in a story. But I think there are ways to give it more substance and make it less blasé. Not looking at you, Hallmark. Before I head out, I just want to talk about the male leads in romance. I'm about to coin a term here, people, so hold on to your butts. The sad Chad trope is something I've seen again and again in contemporary stories, particularly with romance. What is a sad Chad, you may ask? Well, it's the answer to the manic pixie dream girl. A man, usually white, usually wealthy enough, or at least found some measure of success in life, who feels despondent for no discernible reason and pines for a woman with borderline infatuation. There's no real reason for Chad to be sad, but he is. He feels wronged in life and dreams of a woman who is cool, pretty, funny, well-read, drinks beer. You know what? Go read Gone Girl for the definition of the cool girl. It's pretty apt. Gus feels this way to me. Yes, he has reason to be mistrustful and has trauma, but since these facets of his personality are only explored on the surface, it's hard to really engage with him as a character. He feels more like a prop than a player in the plot, which is unfortunate because dissecting his story along with January's would have made for a really cool journey. But maybe that's not the point of romance. Maybe it just needs to be an escape. Okay, eviscerate me in the comments. But please also like and subscribe so we can keep arguing about stories, my favorite thing to do in the world. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye!